जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन बल्लभा गिरिवर धारी। यशोदा नंदना ब्रज जन रंजना जमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्ण हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवाजकाचार्य श्रुत सत्या श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू गुरु एंड गौरंगा। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैवं नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 7, Chapter 8, text number 40 and 41. Shri Brahmo Vacha Antusmi Anantya Duranta Shaktaye Vichitra Viraya Pavitra Karmane Vishvasya Sargasthi Samyamam Gune Swalilaya Sandhate Vyavyatmatmane. Shri Brahmo Vacha Nato Asmi Anantaya Duranta Shaktaye Vichitra Viraya Pavitra Karmane Vishvasya Sarga Sthiti Samyaman Gune Swalilaya Sandhate Vyayatmane. Shri Brahmo Vacha Ananto Asmi Anantaya Duranta Shakti Vichitra Viraya Pavitra Karmane Vishvasya Sargasti Samyaman Gune Swalilaya Sandhate Vyayatmane. Shri Brahmo Vacha Anantosmi Anantaya Duranta Shakti Vichitra Viraya Pavitra Karmane Vishvasya Sargasti Samyaman Gune Swalilaya Sandhate Vyayatmamani. Nato Asminantaya Duranta Shakti Vichitra Viraya Pavitra Karmane Vishvasya Sarga Sthiti Samyaman Gune Swalilaya Sandhate Vyayatmani. Shri Brahma Uvacha. Lord Brahma said, Nataha, bow down. Asmi, I am. Anantaya, unto the unlimited Lord. Duranta, very difficult to find an end to. Saktaye, who possesses different potencies. Vichitra Viraya, having variety of prowess. Pavitra Karmane, whose actions have no reaction. Even though doing contrary things, he remains without contamination by the material modes. Vishvasya, of the universe. Sarga, creation. Sthiti, maintenance. Samyaman, and annihilation. Gunehe, by the material qualities. Swalilaya, very easily. Sandhate, performs. Avyaya Atmane, whose personality never deteriorates. Translations and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Brahma prayed, "My Lord, you are unlimited and you possess unending potencies. No one can estimate or calculate your prowess and wonderful influence, for your actions are never polluted by the material energy. Through the material qualities, you very easily create the universe, maintain it, and again annihilate it. Yet you remain the same without deterioration. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you." Purport. The activities of the Lord are always wonderful. His personal servants, Jaya and Vijaya, were confidential friends, yet they were cursed, and they accepted bodies of demons. Again, in the family of one such demon, Prahlad Maharaj was caused to take birth, to exhibit the behavior of an exalted devotee. And then the Lord accepted the body of Nrsimha Dev to kill the same demon, who by the Lord's own will had taken birth in a demoniac family. Therefore, who can understand the Lord's transcendental activities? Not to speak of understanding the transcendental activities of the Lord, no one can understand even the activities of His servants. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 23:39, it is said, "Tantra Vakya Kriya Mudra Vigyena Na Bhujaya." No one can understand the activities of the Lord's servants. Therefore, what to speak of the activities of the Lord? Who can understand how Krishna is benefiting the entire world? The Lord is addressed as Duranta Shakti because no one can understand His potencies and how He acts. Text number 41. Shri Rudra Uvacha Kopo Kalo Yugantaste Hato Aham Vasuro Lapshkaha Tad Sutam Pahi Upasratam Bhaktam Te Bhakta Vatsala. Translations and purport. Lord Shiva said, "The end of the millennium is the time for your anger. Now that this insignificant demon Hiranyakashipu has been killed, O my Lord, who are naturally affectionate to your devotee, kindly protect his son Prahlad Maharaj, who is standing nearby as your fully surrendered devotee." Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the creator of the material world. There are three processes in creation, namely creation, maintenance, and finally annihilation. During the period of annihilation, at the end of each millennium, the Lord becomes angry, and the part of anger is played by Lord Shiva, who is therefore called Rudra. When the Lord appeared in great anger to kill Hiranyakashipu, everyone was extremely afraid of the Lord's attitude. But Lord Shiva, knowing very well that the Lord's anger is also his Leela, was not afraid. Lord Shiva knew that he would have to play the part of anger for the Lord. Kal means Lord Shiva, Bhairava, and Kopa refers to the Lord's anger. These words combined together as Kopa Kala refer to the end of each millennium. Actually, the Lord is always affectionate towards his devotees, even though he may appear very angry, because he is Avayatma, because he never falls down. Even when angry, the Lord is affectionate towards his devotees. Therefore, Lord Shiva reminded the Lord to act like an affectionate father toward Prahlad Maharaj, who was standing by the Lord's side as an exalted, fully surrendered devotee. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kirpa Sindhu Bhaya Ivacha Patitanam Pavne Bhayo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing to read the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev and the purpose for which he had manifested. So in the first verse, Lord Brahma is praying to Lord Nrsimhadev. So after killing the king of demons, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev was still very angry. And normally when the Lord is angry, the demigods, they pray to him to please him and pacify him. So that is what Lord Brahma started with. And as a matter of fact, the prayers in these sections are very, very exemplary. All the exalted devotees of the Lord, the demigods, even Prahlad Maharaj, they will be praying to the Lord in this section. And we are normally told that when we need some kind of inspiration to, say our own prayers, these are the good prayers to read and take some inspiration from. So here, Prabhupada says in the purport that it is very, very difficult to understand Krishna. Not only it is difficult to understand Krishna, even to understand his transcendental activities, his forms, etc., is very, very difficult. So, and further, it is said that it is not easy to understand even his servants and their activities. So, when we look at the lives of some of the exalted devotees, we will find that sometimes it is not very easy to understand their way of living, their behavior, the way they act. And a number of times it happens that neophyte devotees are advised not to associate with very, very exalted devotees because they will not be able to really understand their behavior and they will be really confused. And sometimes they may even act or what we say, imitate them, and then they will be really committing a lot of offenses. I'm reminded of a story, which is very, very interesting story. I do not remember the name, so forgive me for that. But there was a very exalted devotee living in Vrindavan, and I think it was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He mentioned, or somebody, I don't remember whether it was him or somebody else, but he told his devotees, his disciples, not to associate with him. And they were really confused because everybody knew him to be a great devotee. And they were wondering why our spiritual master is forbidding us to go to him. So there is an incident, little story, which I would like to share with you, which will illustrate why it was, not easy to understand his activities. So he was living in very, very austere conditions. He has his deities, and he used to make an offering to them every day. So he had some small cups in which he would prepare the bhoga, and offer it to the Lord. So one day, some thief stole the cups, and that's what all that Babaji had. So he didn't know how to make an offering to the Lord. So he told the Lord that, okay, your cups have gone, you are not going to get anything to eat today. That's it. So the Lord said, oh my God, what's going to happen now? So then Lord made arrangement for the thieves to bring the cups back. And then the offering started again. So as the time was passing, the Babaji was getting old, and his health was very, very, frail. He was not able to go in the village to collect bhiksha and bring it to make bhoga for the Lord. So the deities said that, okay, you are becoming very weak and old, so we will go and collect bhiksha in the village. And so he said, no, I will go and do that. And then the Lord said, no, you have been serving us for such a long time, so it is time for us to do something. So we will go and collect the bhiksha and come back. So then he had a stick. So he takes the stick and tells the Lord that you are not going to move from here. You are just going to stay here. And I am going to go to the village and get the bhiksha. So this illustrates, sometimes the activities of very, very exalted devotees. We really cannot make out why they are doing a particular thing. Also, to a large extent, it depends on the relationship of the devotee with his deities or the Lord. Because depending on their relationship, they will be acting in a particular way. There's another story, I think it is in relation to Jagannath Babaji. So, some villagers came to him, and it was quite customary in India that exalted devotees or so-called exalted devotees, they would have mystic powers. So, these villagers, they come to him and says, show us some magic. So he, didn't know how to respond. So he said, no, you are such a great yogi, you should have mystic powers, so we would like to see something. So he said, okay. Then he picked up a stick and he started beating it on the ground. And they were all wondering what happened, and eventually they left. So his servant, he also couldn't understand that what my master was doing. So he asked him, he says, I saw you, beating on the ground with that stick. So what was the purpose? So he said, there is a goat in Vrindavan, and that goat is eating a tulsi plant, the leaves of a tulsi plant. So I was beating that goat. So they were all confused, how can it happen? But then among the people who were inquiring or who were there was a businessman who had some connections in Vrindavan. So he asked, his contact in Vrindavan to find out whether something like this happened or is happening. And it turned out that it actually happened. So for an ordinary person to understand how Lord acts or his pure devotees act is very, very difficult. So even in many scriptures, we read about inconceivable potencies, inconceivable energies of the Lord. In Ishopanishad, mantra number 5, it is said that Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. So this shows the contradiction in Lord's potencies and Lord's energies and the way Lord acts. So, however, as we understand, as we read more and more about the different pastimes and the energies of the Lord, then we can at least try to make some sense out of it. It is not very easy, and like I said earlier, it can really confuse one. So therefore, one needs some help to understand them. And like we have been discussing even earlier, that's where the role of a spiritual master is very, very important in our lives, to understand these situations where we find contradictions. So Lord says, even in Bhagavad Gita, he himself says to Arjun that how he can be understood. Because if we just leave it at that it is the Lord potencies are inconceivable, nobody can understand them, and they are very difficult. So one way of doing the things is that we give up right there and say, oh, it is just not possible for me, so why should I make an attempt? But the Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 11, Ye yathamam prapadayante. So Lord tells Krishna tells Arjun that how he treats his devotees depends on the devotee's degree of surrender. So what does it mean? So when we are seeing that there are so many contradictions and difficult situations to understand, then does that mean that nobody can know anything about Krishna? Nobody can understand him? So it is not true. As a matter of fact, we also read in our scriptures that Krishna reveals himself. Correct? But to whom would he reveal? To whom will Krishna reveal himself? That is what we have to understand. And once we understand that, then we can move further. And that if we ask that question and get an answer for that question, then it will help us also to make progress in our devotional lives. So what Krishna says, what I just mentioned a minute ago, the Lord says that how he treats his devotees depends on the devotee's degree of surrender. So Krishna will reveal depending on what kind of a relationship we have with him, what kind of a surrender, up to what degree we are surrendered to him. Do we love Krishna? And if we love Krishna, to what extent we love Krishna? So these are the things based on which Krishna will reveal himself to a particular devotee. I sometimes ask myself questions, because when a number of times we hear in classes or some senior devotees discussing things, and honestly for me I cannot really make out anything of those discussions, and it really goes over my head. So I really wonder, is it necessary to talk things like such high philosophy, whatever they're discussing and so on? And then I realize that things which are high philosophy for me may not be same thing for them, because they have the kind of understanding they have. I, at my level, do not have that. It is like some very, very difficult science practical or experiment. So if a person who has no knowledge of science or of that particular subject, he will not be able to understand anything out of that experiment. Whereas people who are conducting that experiment, they have knowledge, and they will be really able to make whatever are the results of that experiment, they will be able to understand them. So same way, those who have sacrificed their lives in Krishna's service, and not only just service but loving service, they have the opportunity, they get this kind of a reward from Krishna, that Krishna reveals himself to them. So that is the way Krishna's so-called inconceivable potencies, his inconceivable forms can be understood by practicing devotees. In Brahma Samhita also, in one of the verses, Lord Brahma is explaining who can and by how one can understand Krishna, or to whom Krishna will reveal himself. And the words used are Bhakti Vilochanena. So it says here that when one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead always within himself and outside himself, if one has developed the transcendental loving attitude towards him. So for people in general, they come to the temple, they look at the deities, they pay their obeisances, and that's it. But people who are in real service to the Lord, who are serving the Lord, they can develop a relationship as if they are developing a relationship with a person. And that is where, when we say that the personal form of Lord exists, and we can have a real relationship, and we can deal with that form on a day-to-day basis, depending on the way we are serving the Lord will reciprocate. If we consider that Lord is here in the Murti form and that's it, then that is what it is. Prabhupada says, why do we have this Murti form in the temple? Why do we have the deities in the temple? He says, because majority of the people cannot see the real God which is within ourselves. We cannot see that because we have never tried. So when we say a self-realized person, who is the self-realized person? Who can communicate with the Lord within himself. So that is the way to develop a relationship with the Lord. Depending on our surrender, the Lord will reciprocate. So, and also depending on the kind of relationship we want to have, Lord will also reciprocate in the same form. If we want to be friendly with the Lord, Lord will like to be our friends. If we want to, we had examples of Hiranyakashipu here himself and also Kansa. They always remember Lord, but they remembered the Lord as their enemies. So the Lord reciprocated in the same way that, okay, you consider me your enemy, I am your enemy. Whereas for Arjun, Lord was his friend. For so many other people, the Lord behaved in a parental way. For Nand Maharaj and Yashoda, Lord was their child. So depending on the love and relationship with which we serve Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. We can move to next verse. Okay, that's when Lord Shiva is saying his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. So let us start with a little question, simple question. I think all of us know the answer, but still it is important to remind ourselves. So why does Krishna appear in this world, in the material world? Yes. So Krishna answers this question in two verses in chapter 4, text number 7 and text number 8. So first he tells Arjun that whenever yada yada hi dharmasya, it's a very, very famous text because in India, on TV, this Mahabharata used to come every Sunday. And it used to be 1 hour, I think 1 hour program on the TV. And it is so interesting because practically everybody, whatever may be their faith, whatever may be the age, whether they understand the language or not, because it was in Hindi, they will be still watching that program. And so much so that there will not be any traffic on the streets. You know, that Delhi, I used to live in Delhi, which the streets are always overcrowded. But during, say, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock on the Sunday, the streets there will be no traffic there. And at that time, there used to be a big electricity problem in the city, especially in summer. So there used to be fixed timings at which there will be no power. So we knew beforehand that in the morning, for 2 hours, there will not be any power in our house or in our office. In the evening, for 2 hours, there will not be any power as well. And on top of that, what we used to say, scheduled outage, there used to be surprises also. But the electricity department made sure that during the telecast of Mahabharata, there is no power failure. Because if there is a power failure, people would go and protest, and they will, stow thrones on the powerhouse and things like that. So everybody used to watch that, and this was the opening text for that program, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya. So everybody knew about why Krishna appears in this world. Then in text number 8 of the same chapter, Krishna further says that he appears to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear, millennium after millennium. So Krishna, here Krishna has appeared in the form of Nrsimhadev. So there are two important aspects of his appearance. One is he has a devotee, a great devotee, a young boy, Prahlad Maharaj, who sacrificed everything, who surrendered totally to Krishna. So much so that he, took the challenge of his father, and he never listened to his father. He never listened to his, spiritual, the so-called teachers in his school, who were teaching him the mundane knowledge, mundane subjects. But still, he just was so much dedicated in thoughts of Krishna that Krishna wanted to come for his pleasure. And that is also one of the reasons. That is actually the main reason Prabhupada says that the Lord appeared as Narsimhadev. He killed Hiranyakashipu, he killed other demons, and so on. But Prabhupada says that was a side job. The main purpose of his appearance was for the pleasure of his devotees. So he says, Prabhupada says in his classes that to kill a demon, however great that demon may be, is just a very, very small job for Krishna. And he need not come himself for that. He has to just order one of his, associates or his servants, and they can take care of that. So I was just reading that the important message to take home from this particular verse is that Lord gets subordinated to his devotees. We have actually, it is not just the devotee himself, but the love of the devotee. Lord subordinates himself to that love. So we give so many examples. I know of two examples which are very, very relevant, and we hear them so often. One is the example of Prahlad Maharaj himself. Prahlad Maharaj had like what we say, surrendered himself totally to Lord Krishna. So that is one example. And the other example is of Arjun from Bhagavad Gita. We know that the Lord chose to become his chariot driver. So imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead taking up, like Prabhupada says, not such a high position. It's a very, very menial position. But because his devotee asked for that out of love and affection, he decided to fulfill his desire. So the Lord is very kind to everybody, and Lord declares that at so many occasions, that I am neutral, I treat everybody equally. But he also says that he is specially kind or more kind to his devotees. So we can become his devotee and get all the mercy of the Lord. It is entirely up to us what we want to do. So I will stop here. Thank you so much. Any comments, corrections, additions, questions, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your class. So you were quoting chapter 4 of Gita, Ye Yatamam Prabhajante Tam Satypa Jamyaham. The Lord reciprocates according to how we surrender to him.
Yeah.
And so I'm a writer, so this verse, I kind of, there's one quote that reminds me of the verse. It's a very relevant verse I kind of try to keep in mind all the time, included especially in Bhagavatam class. Mm-hmm. There was one quote someone said that life is like a trumpet. If you don't put anything into it, then you won't get anything out of it. And that applies to all of our circumstances in life if we're trying to. And so this reminds me, this example is relevant because just last night, I'm thinking someone was helping me wash pots. And he said he was a jazz musician. It was Bhatta Zag. I'm sure you guys know him. So what he told me is that while he was, right before he went to perform some jazz, not a concert, but a little club or with his friends, and basically what he said is that he would chant like 4 rounds before he went on stage. And so after he chanted the rounds, he went on stage and pretty much he said he pretty much forgot, all the things he was supposed to do, for his concert, like everything, so he realized that the motive he had for chanting was to improve his jazz playing. That was the motive. So a lot of times when we hear that the Lord will reciprocate according to how we surrender unto Him, we may think this is not true. So what happened? I'm surrendering. I want you to improve my jazz, or playing or whatever circumstances by chanting. And so that may not be the case. So is there a danger in having, because naturally when you have expectations and you don't get them, you become, upset, angry, dejected. And so how are we to understand this verse that the Lord may not always reciprocate according to how we want Him to, because we kind of invoke Him to be our servant instead of us trying to be His servant. So can you explain that a little bit?
There are two aspects of this question. One is the consciousness with which we are approaching the Lord. That is one part. And the second part is that the Lord reciprocates, but Lord reciprocates at His terms and conditions, which sometimes are very difficult for us to understand. That is what most of the time happens. Because when we are asking for something, based on our previous karmas, based on our, whether we deserve it or not, Lord will provide us, what we are asking for. So, I used to hear when I was a kid, that I don't know whether in this country you use that term, that first deserve, then desire. So, if you deserve, then Lord will provide you that. Most of the time, we may not be deserving certain things, but we still want to have them. So then what we get is not exactly what we were looking for. We get something in a different form, and then we are confused that, why this is being done to me. So the best is, I personally feel that when we ask for something, we have to be extremely careful, very, very careful, because, if we don't ask for something, let us say, Lord will still provide it to us if we deserve it. Lord is situated in us. He knows exactly what we want. We don't even have to say, correct? So when we ask, we don't, and if we don't deserve it, or the Lord is reciprocating in His own way, then, for example, I give you an example. I give this example to a lot of, my friends. That suppose I am praying to the Lord that I want to be a great swimmer. That's my passion, and I want to swim and swim and swim. I can be in water the whole day. So the Lord will say, okay, I want to fulfill your desire, and the Lord gives me the body of a fish. So I'll be in the water all day, and the moment somebody takes me out of the water, I'll be just in so much of, pain and problem. So Lord fulfilled my desire. Nobody can say that He did not fulfill my desire. But the result is not same. So Prabhupada gives, quotes this kind of examples again and again. He says when we are in this body and we are desiring something, Lord, and so we may not be in the human body in our next lifetime. So what we are desiring now may not have that kind of a relevance if we are in another body. So say for example, we say, okay, I really want to eat gulab jamuns and gulab jamuns and gulab jamuns, and I only pray every day that, Lord, I should be always eating gulab jamuns, that is my only desire. So, but because of my karmas and my other consciousness, suppose I get the body of a dog in my next lifetime. Will gulab jamun mean anything to me? May not. I may be looking for something else. So we have to be extremely careful when we make these demands unto the Lord. Okay? Any other comments or questions? Please. You want to ask another question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Prabhu.
Thank you for that answer. I have a question related to that. So you were mentioning if we want to be a great swimmer, the Lord will reciprocate. That's actually one point I wanted to make. I think you more or less answered it, because the tendency is that, like, suppose we ask to be a popular, I don't know, let's say Bhagavatam speaker, and we, people are, very enthusiastic coming to our classes, but then suppose someone else prays, I want to be more popular than that popular Bhagavatam speaker, and then they are. So the tendency is that you make the point that we should be very careful what we pray for, and Lord Chaitanya says we shouldn't pray anything except bhakti, nadanam, najanam, nasundaram, etc. And so the tendency is that Maya is always influencing our desires. I want this, I want that, I see someone else. Like, for example, the first chapter of this 7 canto is entitled The Supreme Lord is Equal to Everyone. And so sometimes we see other people, at least externally, it seems like they're getting what they want. At least all the things we want, they're getting that. And the tendency is to become, not only question the Lord's, equality, but the tendency is to become envious and become ultimately dissatisfied. Why are you reciprocating them? But you don't know their whole story. They're actually probably suffering just as much, but a lot of times people don't want to say they're suffering because they don't want anyone to know I'm suffering, Otherwise, they might, I want to know. So how do we understand this, that the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone?
What you are saying is very, very relevant and practical situation, because, we see so many situations around us, and we see our friends or our neighbors or our, people, acquaintances, and we know that they are not pious people, they don't go to the temple, and still they are flourishing, okay, if I may use that word. So, and this is a very, pertinent thought which comes to the mind that, and also sometimes we see that there are people who are leading very, very pious lives, trying to follow the rules and instruction of the scriptures, and still we find that they are not always doing so well. They may not be doing so well wealth-wise, health-wise, maybe in terms of their children are not, going to the best school and so on. So why do these things happen? So one, of course, is that whatever is happening to us in our current life is not the result of the karmas of our present life. These are the result of maturation of the karmas of our previous lifetimes. So we don't, fortunately, we don't really know what we did in our previous lives. And what we are suffering or enjoying now, is the result of our previous lifetimes. So that is partly answers why certain things happen to certain people. There is a book called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. So everybody considers himself to be good. Nobody considers that I am bad. So this is written by a Jewish rabbi, and he said that in his profession, the part of his job was to visit families where there were deaths and tragedies and calamities, etc. And he would go to them and kind of console them. That was the part of his job. And he felt that he was doing a good job. And then he got married, and he had a son. So, and son, it was a happy family, the child was growing. But when the child was 3 years old or so, he stopped gaining weight. And obviously, like any other parent, the rabbi and his wife, they were also concerned, and they consulted a doctor. And initially they thought that it is one of the normal things, slowly it will change and so on. But it was not happening. So then they consulted, specialists, they did a lot of tests and so on. And then they informed the rabbi that your son is suffering from a very, very rare disease called pregoria. What does it mean? It means fast aging. So in 1 year, the child will age 10 years. So when he went to school, when he was like 5 years old and he went to school, he would look like a 50-year-old person. All his hairs are gray or falling, there are wrinkles on his face and so on, and he will wear glasses like the old people wear and so on. So that's what was happening to him. And they told, the doctors told the rabbi that he will not live for very long. So when he was about 13 years of age or so, he left his body. So that made the rabbi ask a lot of questions, because he felt that he was a man of the God. He always followed the directions and the instructions given in their scriptures. So why something like this happened to him? So he wrote the whole book based on that, and it was the bestseller for some time. But when I try to read that book, and a lot of other people try to read that book, they say that he couldn't really come to any conclusion as such. He tried to write so many, possible theories that this is what may have happened, that is what may have happened. But all of them are not very convincing. But when we read the theory of karma, as it is explained in our scriptures, that how does the whole thing happen? We have a desire, we want to fulfill it. It sometimes gets fulfilled, sometimes it doesn't get fulfilled. How does the whole cycle? Then we, do something to accomplish that desire. Then we have the reactions of our karmas and so on. And it keeps on moving. There is a cycle. So based on our karmas in our previous lifetimes, based on our desires of the previous lifetimes, we have got this body. And based on the same karmas and same desires and our consciousness, we are either enjoying or suffering. So that is why it is very, very important that we have now got an opportunity, and we also have the knowledge. There are two important things to understand this. One is Gyan, and the other is Vairagya. So knowledge and renunciation. So we are lucky that we have come in contact with the right kind of people who have been very kind to us to give this knowledge. And this is now an opportunity for us to engage ourselves in those activities where we can secure our future. So what do we mean by securing our future? That we are not taking birth again in this material world. Because if Prabhupada says very clearly that if we are going to take birth in this material world, we cannot be sure that we will be taking birth in the human body. It could be anything. And then it can become even more complicated for us to go back to Godhead. So we have this opportunity. We serve their lordships sincerely under the guidance of a spiritual master, and try to go back to Godhead. And if for whatever reasons we cannot do that, then Krishna gives us the assurance that if in this lifetime you cannot reach the platform of perfection, at least in the next lifetime the things will be little bit easier for us, or we will start where we ended. Again, a number of times we hear this example of the bank account. Right? We have the bank account, you put money there, and next time you want to go and check, you always find that the money is reducing and reducing and reducing. It is never increasing as such. You can keep on putting the money in your bank account, but every time you check, it is lower than the last time. So But the spiritual account is different. So spiritual account, whatever our spiritual credits are, they are going to carry on. We are going to inherit them in our next lifetime also. So this is the opportunity which we have got, and we should make the best use of it. God, the Lord is equal to us. It is we, the way we act, the way we conduct ourselves, and the Lord makes arrangement that we get rewarded or punished according to what we are doing, according to what our desires are. That is the desire of a pure devotee. But here Krishna says, actually I was listening to the class this morning when I was dressing this morning, and Prabhupada says that who is a Mahabhagavata? Because we have been reading, at least we have been talking about it earlier also, and he says one who can develop the tendency to love Krishna. So our desire should be to love Krishna and to discharge whatever we are doing, do that with that kind of a consciousness that I am doing it to please Krishna. Because what is the definition of love? I mean, I have been hearing some classes, and people talk about the definition of love so often. And the definition of love is to please somebody, correct? We try to please the object of our love. So if we do whatever we are doing, whatever desires we are having, that should be to please Krishna, then I guess we are, but again, it is easy to say than do. That's one thing. Second is also sometimes we say certain things, but we do differently. So our actions speaks louder than the words. So we should focus more on our activities, more on our actions, rather than just the words. And if we are doing it under the guidance of a devotee who understands Krishna better than us, it will be really very, very helpful for us to reach our destination, or at least to know our destination and know the directions also. It's like a GPS. If you are in contact with a pure devotee of the Lord, he shows you that you have to go here, and this is the directions, these are the roads which you have to take. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Excuse me, it's such a thing.
No, I'm just wondering, you had it last.
No, it's missing,
Yeah, it's not authorized.
and no one signed it up.
And no one signed it.
Oh man, you needed it this morning for Terrence, or?
Yeah,